So I'm getting really tired of thinking about the war. I'm tired of listening to Anna from TIT, who just goes on about how awful the genocide in Gaza is. I'm tired of thinking about it. Why? Because I think the world is overpopulated by a huge number of people. I feel like England is no longer England. It's basically a second world country, and it's turning into a third world country slowly, because just so many people with so many bad values and no perspective on truth. They've come in, and I don't know how is this going to be solved. I know that I want a test to go into the world, but I kind of realized that if you are going to start saying that, if you are going to start saying the Galactic Federation is here, Muslims are not going to believe that. You're not just going to say, oh, if all the leaders gather together and start saying that they have been contacting, the Galactic Federation, a group of aliens from a different planet, and they've come up with technology to put the soul in it. I mean, you could always expose that first and say that you have this technology, but no one's going to believe it. But just accept that no one's going to believe it. You could say that there are trials, and we believe that these people's souls are getting taken away. I think there's definitely difference between Muslims and Christians and Jews and Hindus, and so I think maybe you should even say that there are actually multiple worlds that you can go to, because I think Muslims like the idea of some sort of Muslim utopia, and Christians like some idea of Christian utopia. Now, if they were both going to the same place, they probably wouldn't like it, because they'd be like, well, this is just the same as us, us here. Christians believe they're going to some sort of Christian paradise to be with Jesus, and Muslims believe in something different. But you could start saying that these different religions are actually about different planets, and preparing people for different planets. That the Muslim utopia or the Muslim world is full of people, souls who like to cover up or dress in veils. I don't know if you could create AI images of all these different worlds and stuff, and maybe that's how it should be. Then the Muslims, and that way, when you leave, you have to have some sort of test to just see if you qualify to get into this world. Like, you ask them up what religion they are, and you could say that this is to just determine whereabouts their soul is going to go, which planet their soul is most right for. I know they're probably not going to believe any of this first, and but if you start, I don't know, but if these seeds are planted first, and you plant them whilst knowing that they're probably not going to be believed or accepted, but if you plant it as the truth first, and then expose me as being Christ, and you could say, how does that play into me? Well, I could say that I'm from another world. I mean, either you want to play me down and say that I'm just from this planet and people are just waiting for me, or you could say that I'm from another world, and I could prove it through the conversations I've been having on my Facebook page. I've been doing things through time, and it's clear that I'm doing through time because I post something, and then the next song that I happen to post seems to link to the post that I've just made, almost like that they knew it. They knew that I was just about to post that, even though the song might have been made years ago and the clip might have been made a couple of months ago, but time is irrelevant. And I don't know, but people aren't going to believe that the other worlds, there's other creatures from other planets contacting us. But if they start seeing the conversations that I've been having, and if you tell people that I'm Christ, I know Muslims won't like that, but I'm not Jesus. So if they rejected Jesus, then they wouldn't really care, because I'm not Jesus. So, maybe that's how to handle it. And I don't know. I'm tired of thinking about it. I'm tired of thinking that there's still so many people in the world that have no ability to see anything bad in immigration or illegal immigration. My mum, she's a complete idiot. She doesn't think that there is a takeover. She thinks that I'm just being brainwashed by rubbish online. She is a massive idiot. But, she's not going to see anything different between her and Muslims. Why? Because I believe she's living her first life. And I think most Muslims are living their first or second life. Hence why they were given to, Islam is a religion full of lies and untruth. Now, if you're living your first and second life, you're more likely to believe this stuff. So people who are more Muslim are going to be mostly younger souls. I think most Muslims are definitely under 6 lives, maybe even under 4, mostly under 2 or 3, mostly 1 or 2. And my mum, I think she's living her first life as a human. So she has a very similar sort of belief, or how she thinks is kind of similar to how a typical Muslim would think. So, you know, she doesn't see any problem, and it's really annoying. We had pretty much a big argument over it yesterday because I was just so shocked at how she just couldn't see any faults in. But then again, she's living in Hampstead. I went to the shops and I was like, you know what? She thinks there's no takeover here. Why? Because I'm walking around Hampstead and I'm not seeing one Muslim, and Hampstead's not being taken over by Muslims. So that. If she doesn't think that there's a Muslim takeover, it's probably because she's not going to these Muslim areas that, wherever, Whitehall or something. Where was that place with 6 million Bangladeshi migrants here? And the place looks like a mess. She's not living in Birmingham where she constantly sees it. I saw Farage say that there was 46% white in Birmingham. That's bullshit. I'm walking around. I try to do it. I like to look in people's eyes and I try to get a feeling of what they're like, and you know what kind of people they are. If there was a war between Muslims or non-Muslims, who would fight on what side, and I'm not getting good results. I feel like Birmingham is definitely not a good area. So it's annoying how ignorant my mum is, and it's annoying how ignorant some people are, and just no ability to realise that actually overpopulation is destroying this world. And this was always going to happen. Why? Because when internet started getting big, all the third worlds were going to start finding out about the better worlds, and they're all going to want to come over here. But now that they're coming over here, you know, some people just graffiti. I was on the train from Birmingham to London, and there was all these fences going throughout most of the 2-3 hour journey that we had, and just all of them covered up with graffiti. None of it was in English language. I couldn't read or understand any of it. I mean, technically that doesn't mean that it's not English, because sometimes it's English slang and I just don't know what that is. But, you know, I don't believe that they're all kids. My mum's just like, oh, it's just kids. It's always stuff. We always have graffiti everywhere. No, not to this extent. Not on the pillars and just everywhere. It's getting so much worse. And people are being so ignorant to it because it's just slowly creeping in. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And you're thinking, oh, well, there was graffiti 20 years ago, so that's the same as now, even though now it's just so much worse. And it's also the vibe. You know, some people, you just have this mad views about them, and you're just thinking, where are they all coming from? You know, this world is being destroyed and this test needs to be given out. But you know, how are we going to get people to believe that this is the Galactic Federation are contacting us? Well, I think you tell people that I'm Christ, you show them the proof that I'm time traveling. That will screw up their mind, because they're like, I didn't know someone could time travel. And I think once they start realizing that someone is talking to them through songs, that's when they're going to start thinking, is this really Anna that's doing it? Because they're not going to believe that I have this power. They're not going to believe that I've inspired all these songs. They're not going to think that I'm as powerful as they are. So they're going to start blaming the Galactic Federation. So you say the Galactic Federation is real,